Welcome to the Mind Sensei Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Taz, and I'll be taking you on a journey to the world of martial arts and introduce listeners to some of the most inspiring and knowledgeable practitioners from around the world. Whether you're a seasoned martial artist or a curious beginner, or just enjoy hearing a great story, the Mind Sensei Podcast Down Under has something for everyone. So tune in, sit back, and let us take you on a journey through the world in martial arts. So welcome back to the Mind Sensei Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Taz, and today we are joined by a remarkable martial artist whose lifelong dedication to the arts has inspired students around the world. My guest is Mr. Juan Serrano, 8th degree black belt and founder of Casa de Kenpo, one of the very first public instructional forums dedicated to American Kenpo. Born and raised in Brooklyn and beginning his martial arts journey at 8 years old, Mr. Serrano has spent more than 35 years refining his craft across Aikido, Aikijujutsu, Taekwondo, Shotokan Karate, Escrima, boxing, and of course, American Kenpo. In 1988, he followed his passion to California, immersing himself deeply into Kenpo, both as a practitioner and an instructor. His work through Casa de Kenpo has helped many countless martial artists expand their knowledge, and his message of lifelong learning continues to resonate. The path to greater understanding is the journey of training and not the destination of rank. It's an honor to welcome him to the show. Welcome, Mr. Juan Serrano, to the Mind Sensei Podcast.
Thank you so much. Very blessed to be here.
Let's start off with, we go back to the beginning, and what inspired you to start practicing, and how did you choose your particular style?
What inspired me was movies like Bruce Lee and Kung Fu stuff, Kung Fu flicks that I would see as a kid when I was growing up. And then by the time I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, I had some friends that were doing Taekwondo at a local school. It was called Way of Action Taekwondo. It was also run by a very prestigious martial arts Taekwondo. His name is Henry S. Cho. And so I was doing Taekwondo from that point, and then watching the Kung Fu movie, Bruce Lee, whatever, and then being able to train, and I achieved about a purple belt at that time. Later on, it just continued my thirst for martial arts, and to the point where in time I got into Shotokan, got my ranks in green belt in Shotokan under Victor Santiago, who was a student of Thomas the Puppet, who was a very big guy back in New York City at the time. And then I was also, that's weird because everything kind of happened where that occurred. Later on, I got into Aikido, but at that time I was maybe about 14 or 15. And then I was learning Aikido under Hal Lorman, who was a student of Yoshimitsu Yamada, who was a student of the guy who created Aikido, Morihei Yoshiba. And so I was training in that art, training in Taekwondo, Shotokan, Aikido. And so that began my, my journey into the martial arts in the beginning. Yeah.
And how did that progress to get you to American Kenpo, which is your destination now, right?
When it's funny because it has nothing to do with Kenpo, right? So, during that time, when I was getting involved in the Aikido school, I met a guy by the name of John Lopez, who is the master of Goshin Aikijujutsu, which I started training in, because he became a student in the Aikido school, and when we were hanging out, we went to a local martial arts supply store that was back in my neighborhood. I used to go there when I was in junior high school. They would let it out for lunch. So when they would let it out for lunch, I really didn't have a lot of money. I grew up pretty poor or whatever. So either a side of pizza I can get, and then what else are you gonna do for the next 35 minutes? So there was a local martial arts army surplus store. And so they had all army stuff and then martial arts supplies. But they had books like Bruce Lee's methods, remember the volumes that Bruce Lee had and stuff. And then they had ninjutsu stuff and all weapons and stuff. So I would always go in there, and then one day I saw a book that said Infinite Insights into Kenpo. And I'm like, what's this? And when I look at it, I thought it was a ninja, because it's all in black, right? So Ed Parker's in black. And I ain't know much about it, but I said, well, let me buy this. So I bought volume 1 and volume 5 because it was the last ones that they had at the store. And when I started reading the mind of it, I was like, man, this is amazing. Like, again, I have volume 1 and I have volume 5. I mean, what happened in between? I got them in between. It's just whenever volume 1 and volume 5, whatever called me to get that, that wanted me to know more about this guy's art and about his system. Even though I was still very young, I was still just doing my, I had my Taekwondo, the Shotokan.
So how old were you at that stage?
Oh my goodness, I was about 15 years old.
Okay.
About 15, 16 years old. And I got hungry for it. But the thing was, back then, I mean, I was born in 1975. So 85, 86, 7, 8, 9, 90, like 91, 90, 91, my interest became bigger. And I was training in these other arts, but I wanted to learn what and there was no internet back then. There was you saw things on Inside Kung Fu or Black Belt magazine or something like that. When I would see an article that had a Parker in it or Larry in it,
Yeah, 91, the internet was just a boy, right?
it was just a boy.
Because 92, I created our website. There was only 3 websites. It was PC Woods. I think Hawkins actually had a website. These guys put one up. And there was very few and far in between. And I had Oz Kenpo.
Right. But there was no footage in it. There was no like sharing stuff, right? You had to buy that book. Luckily, by that time, the martial arts supply store was called Tip Top. Just to give it props, it doesn't exist no more. It was in Brooklyn, New York, in Park Slope on 5th Avenue on 9th Street, in the corner of 9th Street. Now, I would go there. I wasn't the only one. Everyone else that I knew within big time martial arts in New York went there. But anyway, there was a point where I saw a casing, a shell, that he had videos, Panther Productions. And in it was When Kenpo Strikes. And that was Larry Tatum. Now, I had Ed Parker's book, Infinite Insights. I'm saying, wait, there's this other guy. Now, I never put the two together. Like, oh yeah, this is his teacher. Right? Like, I didn't think anything about it. Let me get this video. And the first video I bought, oh no, I'm not gonna go to A or B. No, I'm gonna go to Advanced Concepts and Principles of Self-Defense. So I grabbed that tape, and when I got it, I said, wait a minute. So this is the way I'm supposed to move. So that's what inspired me to want to learn more about the art, and then to the point where I started creating my own system out of my Aikido, my Aikijujutsu, Gogoshu Jiu-Jitsu, my Shotokan, my Taekwondo. I started trying to put it together because when I saw Larry move, when I saw him move, because back then I wanted to know who Parker was. There was no footage. There were no videos on him at that time. So Larry almost became this outlet to show you what this was about. And when Joe Jennings and Larry did those videos, which is the best thing that ever happened, it didn't just blow me away. Any friend that I had in Brooklyn, New York that saw these videos were like, oh my God, did he just hit that guy for real? And, Rick Jeffco, did he just hit him for real? I have no idea, but this shit is dope. This shit is dope. And I want to move like that. And so I started, there were no Kenpo schools. The only one was in Manhattan. And the truth is, the king of Kenpo Karate in New York City will always be Jack Schamberger. So if you guys look him up, he's a big-time Tracy Kenpo Karate guy, trained under Dick Willett, Chicken Gabriel, like the big-time guys, JT Will was his teacher. He also has ranks in the Koshu, Kru Kenpo, any kind of Kenpo you can think about, American, Chinese. This guy was the king, and he still is to this day, what I believe.
Is he still around?
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, and there's an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer learns karate.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was in his dojo. They did that in Manhattan.
Okay, there you go.
It was on 6th Avenue on 34th or 33rd Street, not too far from Madison Square Garden. Because I was there. I've been there before. That's why.
That was where Kramer was getting beat up by the kid, right?
Oh,
tell me the kid was you, right?
Yeah. What is it about? Why is it with me? So that was the biggest guy in terms of Kenpo. And I went to his dojo, and the first time it was nice, but his students, he was great, but his students weren't nice to me. So I just, I'm 17 years old. I'm 18. when I feel a little vibe, then I go the other way. And so I went back to my basement trying to formulate my craft, trying to put together this American Kenpo shit that I want to really learn. And then Jody Sasaki comes out with yellow belt to third degree black belt videos, and Mohammed does, but Mohammed did it afterwards. But Jody came out, and when he did that, I said, "Hey, Dad, what? Can you buy me this video? How much is it? It's $450 for the whole set." And my dad goes, okay, I'll do it. And my dad bought it, and it was sent to me that week. And I was a monster in my basement because I want, again, my ambition, I just wanted to learn and really embrace it, and there was no one to share that. And then what happened was, during that time, after maybe 8 months, I called Jody Sasaki and say, Jody, my name is Juan Serrano. I have my own system called Shotokan Karate. And, I have my students and I'm teaching. And I just want to commend you on your video. He goes, hey, I'm going to be in New York City in June. I said, what? He goes, yeah. So I kept calling him every day. And then my grandmother was hating me because, those the calls were costing. And she was like, who the hell are you talking to? It's bad. Man, ponemos la fucking madre, blah, 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 blah. I was like, mommy, but I'm just trying to, I don't give a fuck who the fuck he is. If he's a president, but, it still allowed me to talk to him. And you know what? I want to say, Jody, if you're out there and you see this, thank you for taking time out of your lesson when you were teaching a lesson to talk to me, even when it was for 10 minutes. When you were teaching a group class, because that really inspired me. And then when he said, I'm going to New York, I said, well, can I pick you up? He goes, well, I have a limousine picking me up. You don't have to do that. He goes, no, I have to pick you up. So he told Jack Schoenberger, who had a limousine to pick him up at JFK, it's okay, I have a ride. And I picked him up with my uncle. And then from JFK, we go all the way to Manhattan.
You didn't show up on your bike.
I'm glad you didn't show up my neighborhood. You were like, holy shit, what's this? So, and then we show up there. And then when I get there, Steve Nasty Anderson is giving a seminar. He was a big-time fighter back in the days. I heard that he created the Blitz, the California Blitz. He was one of the fighters. And he's amazing, right? So he's giving a seminar, and I'm looking around, and Jody introduces me, and Jack Schamberger remembers me, and his students, but you know what? I'm a New Yorker, man. I'm from Brooklyn. I remember 18 years old. I don't know. These fucking guys don't like me, for some fucking reason. And I ain't do nothing for them, but whatever. So I'm going on my own little corner. And Jody is taking somewhere else, and I'm over here. And I feel alone until I see someone with Ed Parker's patch. And I'm like, oh, shit. This is an American Kenpo guy. And he looks at me and goes, hey, you have the patch. You IKK? I said, no, but I want to learn American Kenpo. He goes, yeah, my teacher is Norman Sandler. And my name is Guy Pisani. And I'm like, hello, my name is Juan Serrano. Nice to meet you. And we started shaking hands and talking a little bit. And then all of a sudden, I see another young Latino guy come to me. He goes, hey, you speak Spanish? He goes, yeah, you me llamo Juan. Me llamo Francisco Vigaru. At the time, Alvarez. And yo también, I do also American Kenpo, but when I came to New York City, there's no American Kenpo, only Tracy's Kenpo. So I had to change over. But I'm a black belt in American Kenpo under Arturo Petit. And I was like, I heard that name before. So that's okay. So we start talking, and then all of a sudden, Steve Nasty said, all right, everyone get up, let's go spar. And so when we begin to spar, guy goes, you don't mind if I spar with you first? I said, sure. And I have pictures of this, and I'll send it to you. I had a red gi on with my little my Kid and Play flat top. It was better. Dude, right? I don't know if you Kid and Play was, but they were rappers, and
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had my flat top, and then he told me to spar with Guy, and I'm not lying. I spar to spar with Guy, and he hits me with destructive twins. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? So we keep sparring, and that was okay. And then all of a sudden, Francisco comes in and he spars with me, but he's real gentle with me because he's realizing I'm out of my element, but he's not gonna be a dick about it the way everyone else is being a dick about it. And so he was cool. And anyway, after that night in 1993, 94, 93, June, I met Guy Pisani, who introduced me to Norman Sandler, who called me 2 weeks later. And then I met Francisco Vigaru, who later on also became an inspiration to me. And during that time, we were just collaborating with each other. So, but by the time I met Norman, Norman knew that I was coming from just trying to put this system together. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, by the time I met Norman, he said, well, how do you get your black belt? And I said, well, I didn't really, I didn't really train with no one, and then I did lie. I said, well, I trained with a Kenpo guy. His name was Mario Lorenzano. I made a fucking name up, and he knew I was lying. And he told me a little bit of Kenpo, but he just made a name up. I would say Mario Lorenzano, and he taught me some of the Kenpo stuff. So I learned because I had Jody Sasaki's videos. I did have the yellow belt to at least black belt material down, even though I had it to third degree black. But I didn't have my sets down. I didn't really have my forms down. The only reason I have my forms down is because I have volume 5 of Instrument Insights. Parker showed short 1, long 1, and short 2. So that was the base. But when I met Francisco, Francisco had that. But the thing was, in Chile, they were limited. They were only allowed to go as far as long form 3. So when we started training, before Norman calls me, in those 2 weeks, I'm already learning finger set, long form 3, and cause stuff I was lacking. But again, what I was trying to say is that when I was putting my system together, when I had Ed Parker's books, I created I called it Kenkidokan Karate, right? So the thing was, it was a combination of the Kenpo, Aikido, Jujitsu, Shotokan that I was doing. So if I saw that, all right, I have volume 5 here. This guy says I have 10 techniques in yellow belt. Okay, I'm gonna make up 10. 24 for orange, 24. Okay. So I did the same thing, except I didn't have third, second, brown. I just had brown belt and then I had black belt. But I created my own 24 techniques with their own names, along with 5 swords, long kimono. Why?
So,
With
what are some of the names that you still remember?
a brace for impact, it's extending the wheel, the snake and the tiger, things like that. It was, and I can't remember the other. It's just I remember those are the first ones, and it was funny because extending the wheel, it looked like I blocked, I heel palmed you, I did a vertical punch to your ribs, and then I heel palmed your groin. But if you look at it, it almost looks like circles of protection. But I never knew that. Later on, I'm realizing I thought I was creating my own system. So I went with that, and then how do you keep doing that? I started teaching all my friends in the neighborhood, and I had about 20 friends in my basement just doing karate with me, learning my own system, and that's how I created it. And and so, but by the time I met Norman, he knew this. He knew I was lying. But the thing was, he still embraced me as a black belt, and he says, "Well, look." You can be with us, you can train, whatever, but you're gonna be more like a first brown. But I will recertify you for black belt, but you need to work out with me. So I did. And for a whole year, Norman gave me Ed Parker's manual. It was this. The IKK manual was really thick. So he told me, I can teach you how to do striking set, but I want you to read it. I can teach you how to do this form, but I want you to read it. So I had to read the material like 6:30, 4:30, whatever it was. I was because I think he wanted to implement that. I had this, like, even if I didn't see it, I read it, so it was here, and then it became here, and within 6 months, I became a monster. I just had I had it down. And then a year after that, I recertified for my black belt, well, a black belt in American Kenpo under the IKK in Delaware, Pennsylvania, at the school of Maureen, Kathy Owen and Maureen Scher. and they were students of Paul Mills at the time. At the time, even though at that time Paul Mills was still with the IKK, and this was back in 1995. So I recertified for my first degree black with them.
What year was that? Do you know?
1995. 1995. Yeah. And I researched, and it was the best. It was an amazing weekend. I mean, there were people that were there. Norman was there teaching. I was there. There was a guy by the name of Derek Entz, who was an attorney who trained the Paul Mills. Derek Hens. Can't remember that, but he was there. Gilbert Velez gave a seminar. He did a extension seminar for purple belt and blue belt at the time. And then Norman was doing, at that time, that's when Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu became a big hype, right? Remember 91, right? And the first UFC, right? So this is 94, 95. So Norman was doing a grappling seminar and a Kenpo drill combination seminar. I forgot what it was about. It was Master Key seminar. So that was during that whole weekend. And so and after that, what happened was I met David Todd. So David Todd is a Kenpoist out of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, who was a student of Larry's. So when I was there during that black belt test weekend, people there was murmuring going on. Hey, what's going on? Larry Tatum is in town. What? Larry Tatum is, yeah, he's about 2 miles away. He's giving a seminar. David was, so I was like, I want to see Larry Tatum, but Larry never came. But David Todd did come over and we started talking, and he was just the most nicest guy. So when we were working out, we were working on drills, and he had Larry's patch on. And this is back in 95. And when I saw him moving, I said, you know what? If Larry has anything to do with this, I want to learn what you're doing, because I do have his videos. So I want to know what is this guy doing that's different that anyone wants to learn, you know? And so from that point, I decided, you know what? I got to get more of Larry's videos. And that's when Larry came out with that segment, after Panther Productions, he came out with the news. So I decided to purchase all those to get an understanding of the, extensions don't mean shit to me nowadays. At one time it did. I feel an extension should be yourself, like however you want to explore it. But the extensions do have a value where, you may do an extension that you think, oh, this is fucking new, but it's not. You're just doing it on the opposite side from another technique. But it's just to show you to work on the opposites, to be comfortable, to learn to be comfortable, right? And what better way to learn to be comfortable than show you something that you not even know you have to do, but you're learning it already. You learn, and then you say, well, I want you to learn to use your left side, and all of a sudden, oh shit, I could do this on my left hand. Wow. It's just, I think it's a way to expand your opposite side, whether you're right-handed or left or right.
Your first instructor, that was Henry S. Cho, right? Taekwondo.
Yeah, it wasn't him. Henry wasn't. It was actually his student, which was Linda Lutz. Her name was Linda Lutz. She was the woman that ran that Taekwondo school on 7th Street and 5th Avenue in Park Slope, Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so let's timeline this. All right. So you started in Taekwondo. What year was that?
Oh, wow.
Come on, didn't you do your homework? 86. 96. Okay. And then from Taekwondo, you got to purple, right?
Yes, I did.
And then you went Shotokan.
Shotokan with Victor Santiago, yeah.
Yep, under Victor San. And you got to green in Shotokan, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. What year was that, didn't it?
That was about maybe, if that was, about
How many years later?
90, hold on, 91, maybe 91, 92.
91? Okay, you started Kenpo 92, right?
Yes, I started reading.
Or 91, you started reading the books.
In between, yeah.
So you started reading the book, and then what about Aikido that then had under Hal Norman?
Aikido, I started actually Aikido in 87. So I did 87, 88, 89, 90. I did it for about 4 years, and it was with Hal Lerman at the it was called
Lerman or Norman, did you say?
no Hal wow, he was Lehrman. Hal Lerman. He was also he was an attorney, real estate owner, and he was actually in the movie Q&A. He was an actor as well. So I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Q&A, but he was the attorney guy at the end of the movie. So never mind.
Okay. All right. So you went Taekwondo, slipped in Aikido, then went to Shotokan, and then from Shotokan
Jiu-Jitsu.
and Goshen. So when did you start Goshen?
So Goshen started in between, I would say, like 90 and 93, because the guy that I did with Goshen Jiu-Jitsu, he became an Aikido student. And then
Okay.
we
So what was his name? John?
his name was John Lopez. He was Cuban.
Lopez.
John Lopez. And he owned a house on 23rd Street in 8th Avenue next to the cemetery in Park Slope. And he had a garage, a 3-car garage, that he converted into a dojo. Now, Sensei John Lopez was also best friends and trainer for Lou Ferrigno.
Okay.
Best friend.
For the Hulk.
Yes, he was best friend, guys. That's why in his garage he had Ferrigno weights. It was all Ferrigno. I said, one goes, no, we were friends. We grew up together, so we would train. And so Sensei John wasn't like, he was a big guy, And
So how did you handle that? Because you're not a big guy, right?
no, I'm not a big guy.
So for people that don't know you,
But you get more flies with honey than you can with vinegar, right?
that's your story and you're sticking to it, right?
Yeah, as they do. Yeah. So, no, he was the most. The way I met him was that, oh, you do you do Kenpo, you do karate and stuff. He goes, well, I'm trying to. That's cool. And you know what? Do you do construction? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I need to fix his house, and so he tells me to work with him to go rebuild some property, and we do it, and then we become friends. And then he goes, well, I teach this. You want to learn it? So I become like within 3 years, I become like a third brown, and I mean, my brain was a sponge. But here's the thing: for anyone who thinks that their brain is a sponge and you learn it, you still need to put the time behind it, right? Experience becomes a greater teacher, right? So he knew that, and he goes, I want to tell you something. I can't promote you anymore. And I said, why? He goes, because the other people who've been working at this harder for years, they're looking and thinking, well, you're just going over the technique. You're not embracing it. And he was right. I was still fucking 15 years old, 16. I mean, I thought I did, but you don't. But I had the idea in I had that thirst for it, that energy for it, and when you have a drive, I think sometimes you don't see anything else around you. It's almost, it disappears, all the bullshit that's going on or whatever just disappears, and you just have that drive and you just want to focus there.
So who would be the first instructor that impressed you throughout your journey?
Oh, with Norman, no, not with just with the Kenpo, because look, Hal Lerman impressed me with Aikido. John Lopez impressed me with Goshen Jiu-Jitsu. Eddie, Victor Santiago with Shotokan, Linda Luthi, and Frank, who is her assistant with the Taekwondo. They all did. They all had a piece of it that made me want to say, I want to keep doing this. And it wasn't just a fucking movie, like, watching Bruce. I mean, great. Again, this is the movie, but Bruce Lee was a real martial artist. Now, Chuck Norris, but they're real martial artists. Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, but they're real martial artists. So the thing is, was it them kicking ass? No. It was just the fact that they came from, I felt like, a discipline, and that they were my inspiration to want to push it more forward. But the truth, Ed Parker's books, Infinite Insights into Kenpo, it made me think differently about things. That was crazy. Even at my age, when I was trying to figure things out, or it became my Bible in a sense. Hey, kids out there, go to school, focus on your stuff, do what they're telling you. You know what I was doing? I was bringing Kenpo books to school. So when the teacher was saying to go over the history book, I had Infinite Insights like this. and no one knew it. But that's how deep I was. Yeah, I'm not lying. I mean, that's wrong, but maybe, I don't know. This is why I'm here right now with you today. But, do your education, get somewhere. But that was my passion, man. That's why I wanted in a world, especially in Brooklyn, New York, when I was growing up. That was it wasn't no Beverly Hills, man. It was somewhere nice, It was just a lot different, man.
So, who's your current instructor or your current mentor?
I have no current instructor. I would say my current instructors are
So, who do you go to for rank?
nobody. The internet, after a while, I mean, when I got my instant degree block, it came to Norman Sandler and Francisco Figueroa. And I was really honored for that. I was honored. And I know why that happened. What happened was I was talking to Tyler one day, and he goes, well, you've been a seventh degree for this long time, and you did Casa de Kenpo, you shared. And look, not for nothing. When I did Casa de Kenpo with Cliff, we never knew it was going to be the way it was. And we never did it for prestigiousness or to get rank from nobody. We just wanted to just share shit that no one else wanted to do. Like, we weren't the first ones to teach Kenpo, but we did it for free. And it was out there. And people were eating it up. Larry was charging. Anyone else is freaking charging. So I would say, when it came to the part with that, and so the inspiration behind that was that after Casa de Kenpo, no one became my instructor. I realized there's a point where, there is a pivot point, man. There's a point where you stop. Now, from that point, there's only so much material. Let's be honest. In American Kenpo, there's only so much material. But it stopped at third degree black if you were doing the old school way. Nowadays, you got a 12 system going rank. You can push it off to fifth degree. Doesn't matter. You're still doing the same shit and the same techniques. But what it was for me is that it was more the inspiration of other instructors being out there. And the way I look at it, and I was going to be honest, when I told Frank Trejo, look, I don't think I need to be under somebody just so that way they could try to charge me $500 fucking dollars, knowing that I know my stuff. I know my shit. I know my material. And at the same time, all those guys that are doing that, they have their own shit. So let me have my own shit. But I never made an organization or a system, you don't see people with you don't see people with Casa de Kenpo patches on or whatever. I made it first. Forgive me, Cliff. We made it so that way people had a network to grab something and share it from, And so in terms of instructors, no, I'm an 8th degree. I don't feel that I need anybody to move me up. And I don't need no one to move me up because I never asked that for my 8th degree. It's just the fact that Francisco and Norman decided to get together because I posted it. Frank said, I recognize when someone is giving back. And I think that Casa de Kenpo did give back without charge. And so with that, the only charge is everyone's love or hate. Hey, you want to hate it. You want to love it. But your response, that's what made it happy to me. Response. Because going up in rank, it don't fucking mean shit. It really doesn't. You can put a bunch of bars in there. Ed Parker said it. Our ranks may show, but it doesn't mean that you know. So, it means nothing. And I think American Kenpo has become bigger than that. Has become great. It should have become greater than that, at least in some sense. But I do give respect to Norman. That was one of my first real Kenpo instructors. Francisco Figueroa, who also became one of my instructors and helped me go forward in the art. Larry Tatum. Oh my God. I worked with Larry for 8 years. I helped manage the dojo. It was a blessing to be there. Frank Trejo, not just to be there in his garage, but to hang out for the barbecues and the De La Hoya boxing matches that he would order in HBO so we could get together and hang out. And he came over to my house and he was there hanging out when I was married at the time with my family. I mean, you know, my journey it became more than about recognition and who the hell you knew. It's just the happiness and the growth behind it. You know, the people, the good connections, you know? And I don't have and I had a school for a little bit. Why? Because one of my black belts, who is a big guy, he has money, he owned the property. He goes, Juan, let's try this out for 2 years. And I tried it, but however way it didn't work at the time in Glendale. It didn't. But I'm just grateful that I had those 2 years and that for somehow I was still able to expand Casa de Kenpo, you know, through my videos, in any way. As an American, to be a part of this dojo, this is, I would say, the new wave of American Kenpo. What they're doing, they're expanding on the techniques, on the forms, expressing on the sets, and giving it a new life in terms of, because, you know, you have to, it's okay to have the tradition, but it's important to get back to the new, right? And, you know, Paul Dye,
Yeah.
an amazing Kenpoist. Did you interview him yet?
Yeah, we're very good friends. Yeah.
Oh, man, I love Paul.
Mr. Intensity.
Yeah, man. I love Paul, and I love his intensity. And you know what? I wish there was a time when I met him, so that way he was one of my mentors too. Paul, in his seminar 2 years ago at Donnie, said this: these techniques were never meant to fight against someone who was proficient.
Yeah.
They were against the wild attacker, the wild guy, you know?
Untrained professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I went to Ed Parker, I said, well, wait a minute. If they're not trained for that, how can you teach me to fight with these techniques? And that really touched me when he said that. Because I said, you're right. How do we make these techniques work in a real scenario that makes sense, aside from a wild scenario, the way, because he kept talking about a bar, and I don't mind bars, but I haven't been in bars that much. Anyway. But it made sense. It made a lot of sense, you know? Again, it goes to show you how Kenpo has its different turns and its different avenues to go through. You know, Frank Trejo he loved Larry, but don't get me wrong. But Frank was like, oh man, yeah. But all he does is to talk to principals. He's not fighting, you know. But I get it, because, you know, Frank was a fighter. And Frank can make the Kenpo techniques. Larry could do it. Don't get me wrong, everyone has their style. But Frank could show you the Kenpo technique and fight. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you know, like long kimono. Boom, boom, boom. Right? Pop, pop, pop. But boom, boom, boom. He showed you the boxer's way to do it, you know? And that's what I love. You got an interpretation of that out here. A flavor of the best, you know?
Yeah, nice. So how did let's talk about Casa de Kenpo. How did that start, and tell us that journey?
Well, you know, I started talking to one of my black belts. He's an old hippie guy. His name is Clayton Locks. And I was like, hey, I'm trying to do a new video and I'm trying to put things together. And he goes, well, I don't know, maybe you should call this something. And then I called Cliff. I said, hey, Cliff. Cliff calls me like, yo, you know, we're trying to put a video together. You want to do a video? Sure, let's do something. What should we call it? I don't know, man. And then, of course, Cliff used to have a place back in Altadena called the Kenpo House in English. No lie. Frank Soto was there. Howard Reckenbeck was there. You know, Frank Soto from Mexico. Frank Soto. So Frank came.
Yeah, yeah. He's already been on.
Yeah. So Frank was living there. Howard Reckenbeck. And so it was called the Kenpo House. You know, remember the old Panther? Remember the old Pink Panther series with Cousteau, and he had his attacker. What was his name? Kato. Remember the guy would always attack him out of nowhere? Well, this is real. Like, Cliff would enter into the apartment, and when he would open, Frank would attack him or somebody. So we had guys doing that in real life. I never dealt with that by the time I moved there, But he told me that it was a ritual they had. So maybe, I don't know, being Puerto Rican, they want to do it with me. But anyway, but they were doing that. And so that house became the establishment. So one day I said, Cliff, we're trying to put a word together. And what do you think? He goes, well, I called it the Kenpo house. Why don't you call it Casa de Kenpo? So Cliff called it Casa de Kenpo. And I said, why don't we make videos of it? Sure. So we go to Chadsworth, the porn capital of the universe. And then we say, we want to record it over there. And so we go there. We go to one of his good friends who's a Denzo Jiu-Jitsu. I heard that it's a relevant of Kenpo from Hawaii, where Ed Parker learned that same system. It's called Denzo. So we went to his friend's Denzo dojo. So if you see the beginning of the first Casa de Kenpo videos, Yellow Belt, the background, you'll see a Japanese, what is it called? Kubota? What is it? I forgot the name of it.
Tory Gate.
Yeah, yeah. And then you see a picture of a Japanese guy who is the guy that Ed Parker knew. They were friends. And Ed Parker learned that system while he was learning American Kenpo with Chow. While he was learning Kenpo under Chow. Excuse me. Yeah.
Casa de Kenpo, that's your YouTube channel. That's still around, right?
Yeah, so that's how Casa de Kenpo came to be. It was through Cliff's idea. He goes, why don't we do something? And during that time when it came out, I know there were individuals that were pissed off because they were trying to sell their videos, and then you had these two other guys kind of posting shit for free. I'm not gonna mention any names, but it had nothing to do with trying to get back at anybody either. It was just, I was frustrated at the fact that, I'm gonna be honest, I grew up broke. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm poor. I know that feeling. To spend $30 on a video VHS, and then if it's an orange belt VHS and you got to go 2 videos, that's about $60. Shipping and handling, you come out to almost $75, $80. No more.
What's the average wage back then in Brooklyn?
Oh my God! It must have been $10 or something cheaper than that. You mean hourly wage?
Yeah, at the average wage a week, what would that be in that?
Maybe $8 or something. Who knows? I mean, yeah.
A week?
No, wait. You mean for hourly work or just the video?
What was the average wage back then when you're buying a video for $60? How much are you making at work in a week?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I mean, back then, average work, it wasn't much. It was in the hundreds, less than 200. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you're spending just under half of your pay on a video.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to do that. So yeah, exactly. So it's like, imagine, and then you're making bank the way people were doing it. And the people who are making bank, they were thinking, well, why don't I just do this to share with people? And of course, when I did this, and when I did this with Cliff, Frank Trello says, you guys are crazy, man. You're not the first people to put Kenpo out there, but you're the first people to do it for free. And I'm like, and then Steve Baca is from NoHo. Yeah, you guys are nuts. You guys you should be charging for this. And I'm like, Steve, I just don't want to do that, man. But you need to make money. He goes, no, because everyone's trying to fucking make money off of this, man. And I just want to share. I'm trying to be the guy that I was looking for. That's it. I'm trying to be the guy that wanted to share and say, come to me. Here you go. What's wrong with being that guy? I know I'm not making money. I get it. I'm gonna be fucking. I'll work somewhere else to get the money, but I'm just trying to do something with this because no one else was doing it. No one else gave a shit about doing that until Cliff and I did that. And after Cliff and I did that, everyone else said, oh yeah, let me share some videos. Oh, let me put long one. Oh, fingers. Oh yeah. Oh, then. But someone had to start that, and that was us.
So what's one of the hardest things you've had to do in your journey?
Live alone by myself out here in California without family. I mean, I am alone. So my family is in Vegas, my sister. My mom has, in Pennsylvania. with my stepdad. He's a biochemist. He's a professor in Penn State. He teaches forensics. They have a lab. They have a lab where they work different pharmaceuticals for different companies. Uh, my grandma's in Brooklyn, New York. My brother's in Brooklyn, New York. Everyone's in the East Coast. My father's in Connecticut. My sister has a farm in Massachusetts. Um, yeah, I'm pretty much here by myself. The only one here is maybe my grandmother's sister, but I just didn't. I should be family more, but I just never grew up with that generation, you know. So it's just different. So that's what it is. So I created my own family with people out here, you know, and I'm here on my own.
With your Kenpo family.
My Kenpo family, yeah, which
That's
became
it.
Donnie, Southern American, and everyone else that I met out here. Angelo Coriato. William Glenn. Everybody, just they embraced me like family. So I'm really grateful for that.
I hear you got Australian family too now.
There you go. Thank you so much, sir. As long as a dingo doesn't take my
Yeah. Dingo's got my baby. That's not nice. Did I say what does an Australian Kenpo say when you're doing knife set? That's not a knife.
I this is noise. I love fucking Paul Hogan. Come on now.
All right. Let's talk about your Kenpo journey, seeing as we're a Kenpo-centric podcast. You got your black belt in 1995, right? Recertified with Norman. So 1995 first degree with Norman, and then where did your subsequent ranks come from?
So after that, I was training with Norman, and I was training with Figueroa.
And don't tell me it came from, was it Mano Lorenzano?
What happened was after that, I kept training with Francisco. So I would always go back and forth from Norman to Francisco, Norman to Francisco. And so, Francisco, at that time, Francisco Figueroa created a new system called Fu Long Huk Kenpo Karate. And if you listen to this podcast, you're going to laugh. So it's Fu Long Huk. So what happened was, during that time with Fu Long Huk, we were training together. And I think he was a fourth degree back then or whatever. I knew he still got his, I can't remember, and I don't want to, unless you talk to him, but he was getting his rank under his other instructor. So when I was training with him, of course, my second degree and my third degree came under Fulham or Vigorous Kenpo Karate. Even though I was still with Norman Sandler back and forth. So what happened was, so this is back again, 94, first degree with Norman. So Full on Hug, this is 95 and then 97. So third degree by 97. So in 97, 98. So by that time, what happened was I called Larry Tatum. And I said, hey, Larry, my name is Juan Serrano, and I train on the Norman Sandler. And I know Francisco Figueroa, and I know who Norman is, but Francisco's come to my dojo, Larry says. So I'm coming over, and I was wondering, could I test under you, but not for fourth? I'm a third degree. I just want to recertify. Like, you when you want to make sure that you are at that rank, So he goes, oh, sure. Why don't you come over December, I forgot what it was, and you can test. So anyway, that December, I do fly in, but again, mind me, my mother lived in Apple Valley. So they're driving from Apple Valley or Victorville to LAX on a Saturday to pick me up and then bring me back. They're not going to go to Pasadena and then go back, So what happened was, sir, I'm sorry I was here, but could I retest? He goes, sure. Come on Wednesday. I have my black belt class. So this is back in 98. So what happened was, my mom drives me all the way to his dojo in Green Street, in Pasadena. And that night I meet Cliff for the very first time. I meet Jeff Kalowski, Angela McNamee, I mean, anyone that became a big part of my life in Kenpo was there that night. William, I met him a week later. No, I'm lying. I met William 6 months later. But it was in that time that I recertified and I got my third degree, and I still have the originals. You see those certificates that Larry has? Posters? Those weren't the certificates. I have the original first one. And it was the last one that he issued to me for my third degree black before he put these new ones. So I still have that. And so I recertified, and I did, he made me do long form 4. He made me do all the yellow belt techniques, and then every extension from purple, blue, and green. And after I did that, I know that Cliff told me, after when he made you sit outside on your knees waiting for your belt, he went in there, he goes, "What do you think?" And I says, and Cliff told me, he said this, I'm gonna go, I don't know if you told me this, Cliff. He's the version of me. He's the East Coast version of me. And so that's it. Larry comes out, says, "You know what? Here's your certificate." Blah, blah. And I was like, third degree black belt in LTKK, man. It's the coolest shit. And this is back in 1998, you know?
And
Yeah.
okay, so that's your third. So you're in your fourth, fifth,
My fourth to Larry.
Larry.
My fifth to Larry. My sixth to Larry. My seventh degree came after we did Casa de Kenpo. Why? Because we gave back. We weren't taking shit. I wasn't charging people. We weren't charging. Gave back.
So who gave you? Where did that come from, though?
That came from me.
So you promoted yourself, right?
I did. And I went to Frank. Frank goes, "I see you promoting yourself." Frank goes, "Oh." I said, "Well, yeah, you know what, Frank? You know why I did it? Because I'm not going to go to anybody else so that they can fucking try to charge me $500 fucking dollars knowing that I know my shit. I gave a bunch of the material. Nobody, Cliff and nobody has done this yet, has given it out. Like, there you go. And if you want me to, what board do you want me to test in front of? Who? What? To show 7? To show 8? I know it. But for who? So they could charge me, or they could say, "Oh, he's under me." Whoa, fuck that. We're creating our own shit here. And that's what, and hey, I'm being fucking honest. That's the
Yeah. So that was 7th. But then for 8th.
Well, who else do I know that I'm gonna grow with it anyway? So that's what it was. That's where it came. Now my 8th, through Vigoroo and through Norman Sandler. Because by the time, about 3 years ago, I met Tyler Duda. So Tyler's, we started hanging out, talking, and I was training. He invited me over to Massachusetts, and he was a great host. Tyler, thank you for everything you've done. We were talking, and he goes, "Well, are you ever thinking about going up to 8th?" He goes, and I said, "What the fuck for?" Like, I'm out there. I said, "Look, you know what, Tyler? There's only 3 people in my life I'm going to let touch my rank. Larry, Norman, or Frank." So there you go. So Frank and Norman got together. And what did Frank say? "I like to acknowledge people who has given back." He's the only one. I haven't heard anybody else trying to say, "Yo, these guys from Casa de Kenpo, they actually were the first ones to give it out there for free and share it out." You got your Black Belt Hall of Fame guys who came up to me. I'm not no way over there. And I'm not trying to say I should be, but I'm just trying to say, did I not pay a tuition to something else that I should be so that I can get recognized? Or do you recognize talent because it's recognized? So I'm just blessed to be around good people and good people that love me and that encourage me to move forward. And I found that also in Donnie Jeffco's dojo out here. It was
Okay, so how did you get involved in Donnie Jeffcoat's Shaolin American?
well, I was working. I was working for a supermarket called Sprouts as a butcher, and I got tired of it. So I said, "Donnie," I text him and goes, "Hey, I'm humbly asking you, do you need an extra instructor?" And that was it. Like, he lost somebody, and he could use an extra instructor. And at the same time, I was able to leave a place that I wasn't happy in. And yeah, I just really, from that point forward, it just I felt really blessed and kind of connected with this school, you know. And again, he's part of that generation of trying to move things forward, trying to make like David Pantano, David's amazing the way he's doing what he's doing with his Kenpo. Randy Perez, Sasha Williams' son, or stepson. He's doing amazing stuff with his Kenpo. Angelo Coriato, his son AJ. AJ's doing crazy stuff, American stuff. So because of being with Donnie, I got more exposed with these guys, and I started seeing how American Kenpo is growing like tremendously. And when I asked him, I text him, I'm humbly asking you, do you need an instructor? And he says, yes. Believe me, the flag went, I was so happy.
So how long have you been there?
About 4 years now.
Yep. So did you ever get to meet Mr. Parker? You started in...
Never. I never met Parker. I started Kenpo back, like I said. I started reading about it back by the time Infinite Insights came out, those books, which is maybe like 89, right? Or something like that. So, and Parker died in 91, right? So I never met him. Although Cliff did meet him, because Cliff's mother used to bring him to the internationals every year. Cliff's student was Conway, John Conway Sr. That was Cliff got his black belts through John Conway Sr. So they would always compete at the tournaments. So he told me that he trained. I know that John Conway Jr. is still alive, but John Conway Sr. was Cliff's actually teacher, and then that's where he learned his Kenpo from, and then he would compete, and that's how he met Parker. He has a picture with him with his trophy and his mom with Parker. A young kid, but I never met Parker. No, never.
But you must have a few interesting stories from Mr. Trejo.
Oh yeah, Frank was amazing. You know what? So one of my favorite stories, there's two of them. One of my favorite was that Ed Parker finds out that Frank's hanging out with, I forgot what his name was. Let's just call him John Doe, with John Doe in Long Beach at Bruce Lee's house, and that they've been in his Bruce Lee's garage. So he brings me in. And he brings me in over. He goes, hey, Frank, come in here. He goes, yeah, what do you want? Says, have a seat. Sure. She starts to look at me. I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. That's what Frank is telling me. I'm looking at me, looking at him. What? He goes, have you been hanging out down at Bruce Lee's in Long Beach? He goes, oh, how did he know? Yeah. I've been going with John Doe. So, even checking out, he goes, well, what do you think? He asked me. So I go, Mr. But you know what? I'm not really impressed with him. Yeah, he does the same stuff we does. He moves around a little bit. He's fast, but I'm not really impressed with what he's doing. Really? That's what Frank tells Mr. Parker. And then he goes, okay, well, tell me, Frank, what? He goes, what? If he does something that's brand new and good, bring it back. All right. So that told me how Parker was always willing to bring something to the art of American Kenpo from outside, especially when he knew it was new.
He was always bringing stuff in.
Yes, and even though Frank was honest, I never liked Bruce Lee. And I'm not, and he just said, he goes, everyone thought he was as big as, it's a fucking movie. It's a movie. He's hitting the guy. It's a movie. Right. And he's fucking right. It's a fucking movie, man. How you gonna, what the fuck out of here? So it's like being in a Tarantino movie. Like, no, it did not happen this way. Okay. So Frank really gave us a real, true approach about, because, Frank had a way of saying that Parker knew how to touch everybody, right? Like Doreen tells me about that. Doreen Cogliandro has some great stories about that. Norman, like he was personable. He was personable, Peter. He was personable, Peter. Like he went to Norman. He went to Long Island, New York, and went to Norman's dealership to talk to him, to visit him. He went to Doreen called Leandro when she was dealing with some hard shit to be there and comforted her. You know, Parker, he was really a connecting kind of person. Like, he really connected with a lot of people, and he knew them not just by their name, but by what was going on in their life. You know, and I learned that through people, through Norman, to others. So I'm privileged. Yeah, no, I never met them, but I'm privileged to hear their stories. And I don't have to tell people their story, but it was enough to inspire me to say, I'm staying here. I'm staying here.
Other aspects of your life that don't involve martial arts? So you teach now? Is that all you do for a living, or do you have other
So I
jobs?
do property management. I'm a property management, so I'm a handyman. So I do commercial right now. I don't do residential. So, you know, the light goes out, the plumbing goes out, whatever it is, I'm the guy to take care of it. And if it's something that it's more, you know, heavier, then we get a technician, right? But I do take care of the property and stuff like that. So I have a background with that because I've done that my whole life. Even when I was in Brooklyn, I was doing property management. My mentor who took me under his wing, Robert Ashmead, um, taught me that trade way before martial arts. And then being out here in California, so all I do is property management and I do martial arts. And the only reason that works is because God is in my life, man. Because without that, it's not going to happen. I have a big faith about that. And I'm not Catholic. I mean, I was raised Catholic, whatever. I have my own faith about, you know, I just believe in God and I believe in good karma. And I believe, you know, I went through my Buddhism moments and my Muslim moments and my Christian moments and whatever you can imagine, trying to investigate the great truth. But what I'm trying to say is, yeah, I've found I've been blessed with some energy, some force to still keep me out in California where I'm at.
Good.
No way, with what I make, I can still be here.
Yeah.
But I'm here.
So do you have any other hobbies outside the martial arts, or is it?
Hobbies is just, you know, I love being in the beach. I love seeing the sea. I mean, I used to love playing baseball or football, but I can't. My legs are a little bit different or whatever. But no, I just stick to my training, and my teaching. It's what I know. It's all I know. You know, and my property management is what I know. That's who I am.
So have you traveled outside America for Kenpo?
Yeah, no, never for Kenpo. The only thing I did out of America was travel to Yugoslavia for a religious retreat. That was it. And that was when I was 12 years old.
Is that voluntary or involuntary?
Oh no, my mentor, the mentor that owned the property that told me property management, he took me there and uh you know what? There's there's a God out there. That's all I gotta say. So other than that, yeah, there's something big out there. I'm not gonna explain what I was saying, but yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
So do you have any memorable moments from your martial arts journey you can share with us?
Always meeting Larry when I came out here, meeting Norman, my first degree black belt, going, you know, recertifying it in Delaware. Meeting, you know, Jack Schamberger in the Chinese Hawaiian Kenpo Academy in New York City. Um, uh, Meeting the celebrities that I knew, who actually invited me to their house to teach their kids in private, which I'm gonna keep those names in private. But I learned I met them through Larry's dojo. From ghetto to Kenpo, yeah, I've got it. That became part of my growth, my inspiration. You know,
Yeah. Yep.
I'm still dealing with the same steps and those. Like, I'm not any richer or any poorer. It's just I'm life has given me a different perspective, and being out here with the people that I know, it's a blessing. Because without that, then I don't have family. But yeah.
Do you have any weird or funny stories you can share with us?
No, weird or funny stories. Oh yeah, yes, yes. Okay, so one day, and this is I have a few, but one day, I'm coming to open the dojo at Lowry's at 3 p.m. As I'm going there, I see this one man. He's stumbling back and forth, real drunk. And so as I'm going towards him, these Chinese girls, he's walking down, I'm behind him. He's walking that way, the dojo's right here. But these Chinese girls are coming forward, and he starts to grope on them. And then, and they push away. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this? All of a sudden, in front of Larry's dojo is our intro. Now, this is the last lesson. After this, Larry will bring him in the office, close the contract, and he's in for a year. But anyway, hey, how you doing? Oh, good. So as I'm opening up the dojo, the guy that was harassing the girls comes behind me. And he goes, hey, you have money? He goes, no, I'm sorry, brother. I don't have any money. I'm sorry. So I go, oye, pendejo, cabrón. In Spanish, fucking bastard, cabrón, puñal. Dame dinero. So I said, what? He goes, hey, back up. So he pulls his hands up. So I said, oh, shit. So the guy that's next to me is like, he's like, oh, is something going to happen? Yeah. So I back up, and the moment I back up, I get up and he goes, yo, you better, chill out. He goes, no, I'm going to fucking hit you, cabrón. And when I back up, I kick him in his stomach, and he fucking falls. Now, the thing was, we're in a sidewalk. There's a car parked. I kicked him past the car. That meant if another car was coming, he would have gotten hit. Thank God it didn't happen, because I could have gone to jail for some shit like that. Anyway, he gets back up, and he wants to hit me. I'm like, oh, fuck, this guy is on drugs. So when I kick him with my right leg, he captures it. He holds my leg. And all I can remember is Goshin Jiu-Jitsu. So he holds my leg. I'm like, oh, shit. And he punches me with the right hand. So when I block it, I grab his arm. My leg is up. And I take my heel, and I push it down his knee, and I do a sotogari. So he flips over, and I land my knee on his chest. And I get ready to hit him, and he goes, please stop, don't hit me. And he gets back up, and before he gets back up, the valet that's right there called Twin Palms, yeah, Kevin Costner used to own it, and the valet goes, hey, Johnny, my name is Juan, right? Hey, Johnny, what are you doing to that guy? I'm like, you motherfuckers, is he trying to attack me? So I have my knee on top of him, and he goes, please stop, and I stopped. And he gets back up from the floor, like stumbling. And he goes, I've been defeated by a pro. And I said, mister, you got to get up and you got to go. And he leaves, and my freaking nerves were like this. Again, one of the mothers bringing their child, she stood in her Mercedes-Benz because she saw the altercation. She was afraid. So I'm like this. Larry shows up. Cliff shows up. Finally, all the instructors show up after this. Like, 5 minutes after it. And then Cliff goes, man, why do I always miss the good shit? And then Larry was like, well, what happened, Juan? I said, no, sir, the guy attacked me. And so you took him down. Did you keep hitting him? I said, no, sir. He told me to stop. So when he told me to stop, I stopped. He goes, good for you, Juan. Let me tell you something. He's going to remember that you stopped. Because if you continued, who knows if he's going to come back some other day when you don't know he's around.
I'm your host, Peter Taz, and you've tuned in to the Mind Sensei Podcast from Down Under. We want to take a moment to thank all our listeners for tuning in to the Mind Sensei Podcast. We appreciate your support and hope our show has been both informative and entertaining for you. If you haven't already done so, we would like to invite you to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Finally, we'd like to thank our guests for sharing their knowledge and experience with us. Without their generosity, this podcast would not be possible. Thank you again for listening to the Mind Sensei Podcast Down Under. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey through the world of martial arts.